Hello, I'm Shigeki Yamaguchi, CEO of NTT Data Institute of Management Consulting and Kunie, and also Executive Advisor of NTT Data Corporation. Throughout my career, I have authored 3 books on the transformative power of digital technologies in our economy, management practices, and society. Because of my interest on digital technology's impact on society, I began writing about how digital technology affects social economy in 2019, publishing the book Economy of Wisdom. In 2020, I wrote a book titled Trust and Digital, in which I discussed corporate strategy utilizing digital technologies. In 2021, I focused on the concept of digital transformation and learning organizations, writing about organizations and the necessary skills and talents to ensure the success of digital transformation. I am also actively engaging in dialogue discussions with professors from international business schools who specialize in digital transformation. I am excited to introduce Driving Digital Strategy, authored by Professor Sunil Gupta and published in 2018. He's Professor of Business Administration and Harvard Business School. Thank you for your time today. I consider you to be one of the pioneers and leading thought leaders of digital transformation, and I am very glad to see you again.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's truly a pleasure to be part of this conversation.
Okay, thank you. Professor Sunil is widely recognized as one of the most highly regarded professors in Harvard's esteemed MBA program, and is highly regarded as a business expert, appearing on several national and international television programs, such as CBS, CNN, NPR, and BBC. I first came across Sunil's book, Driving Digital Technology, in 2019 and recently, while considering the current state of digital transformation, I had the opportunity to read this book again. I found it remarkable that even though it was written in 2018, this book still thoroughly covers all aspects of digital transformation in 2023, particularly on how to leverage digital technology for corporate change. I am truly amazed at Sunil-san's foresight in writing such a book back in 2018. I consider this book as a starting point for discussion on digital transformation. This August, I had the pleasure of visiting Professor Sunil at Harvard Business School's campus to exchange ideas, and he kindly agreed to participate in this discussion. So let's get started with the agenda. We will first ask Sunil-san to cover the overall concept of driving digital strategy through the framework of digital leadership, and then share my thought on it. Then, I'd like to explore how things have evolved since the book's publication in 2018 and how the companies mentioned in this book have progressed. Finally, I would like to ask Sunil-san's thoughts on recent developments in AI and how he received the recent disruptive changes. Let's delve into this groundbreaking book. First of all, we would like to start with the overall concept of driving digital strategy. Sunil-san, I would appreciate it if you could begin by explaining to the key components of this framework and how it helps us reinvent our business. Please.
Sure. Happy to do that. So the basic idea behind this framework is any large established companies has to do two things at the same time. They have to strengthen the core of the business because you're still running an existing business, but you also have to build for the future because the future will not be the same as today. So it's like changing the engine of a plane while it's flying. And of course, that's very hard. How do you run an existing business, but also change at the same time? And based on my research, what I found is there are multiple things the company has to do. It's not just one. And the four key things that they have to do is think about their business model. In other words, how do you create and capture value? Because customer behavior is changing. So how do you create value for the customers in a different way than what you have done in the past? And how do you capture it differently? That's the first part. The second part is how do you think about your value chain completely differently, because technology allows you to automate things, improve the production and supply chain process and the entire value chain. The third component is how do you connect with customers, because again, technology allows you to do things in a different way than what you have done in the past. And finally, another important part is internal changes in the organization in terms of how you organize, how you skill people, how you compensate people. All those components have to come together. So it's not just one piece, but all those pieces, every part of the business organization has to adapt to this new reality. And you transform as a result of that. The company in 5 years may look very different than what it looks today.
Thank you, Sunil-san, for the clear explanation. Let's delve into the part one of the framework of digital leadership, reimaging your business. Sunil-san, you had quite a few intriguing quotes showing on this slide on how one should reimagine the business scope, specifically on redefining the business, competitive advantage, and the role of data and customers. May I ask you to explain a bit more in depth regarding this topic?
Sure, happy to do that. If you proceed to the next slide, you'll see that a good example of that is if you look at Amazon and ask yourself, what business is Amazon in? It's very hard to see as to what is a common thread. Why is Amazon doing all these things? So as you very well know, Amazon started by selling books and electronics as an online retailer. They used to buy these things, put in their warehouse, and sell it through the online channel. And the value proposition for Amazon at that point in time was it's convenient for consumers to buy it online rather than go to an actual physical store. It is cheaper because as Amazon, you didn't have to build the brick and mortar stores. And it is also, I have infinite variety because I don't have the physical constraint of a store. But very soon, instead of an online retailer, they became a marketplace, which basically means that they started selling, allowing third-party sellers also to sell on their platform. And there's a fundamental difference between an online retailer versus online platform. And why did they do that? Because by becoming an online platform and inviting third-party sellers, the more sellers you have on your platform, the more buyers can find everything they want. So more buyers come on the platform. The more buyers come on the platform, more sellers have an incentive to join because sellers go where the customers are. And that creates a positive flywheel. The more sellers mean more buyers means more sellers. And you suddenly have increasing economies of scale rather than diminishing returns to scale. So that was the first thing that they did. Then if you look at, they launched hardware products like Kindle. So you sort of say, well, Amazon was a retailer. Why are they becoming a hardware producer like Kindle? And again, the idea was very simple, that they are producing Kindle not to make money on the hardware, but Kindle was a way to sell more ebooks. In other words, Kindle will be priced low in order to sell more ebooks. This is the classic razor blade strategy. they sell razor cheap in order to make money on the blades. And you can go through all this. But what comes out of this is a broader framework. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the broader framework, which is in the past, we used to think about competitive advantage comes from being better or cheaper. That's the lower left box. That's a traditional strategy. But that assumes you are selling one product to one customer. I'm selling my car is better or cheaper. What happens if you're selling multiple products to the same customer? That's the bottom right-hand box, complements. That's where you sell razor cheap in order to make money on the blade. And this razor blade strategy has been around for a long time, but what is different today is that razor could be in one industry and blade could be in another industry. So for example, Amazon can compete with banks by offering loans to its third-party sellers on its platform at such a low rate that banks can never compete. And why would Amazon do that? Because Amazon can say, I don't have to make money on loans. I will make money when these sellers grow, do more business on my platform, and I get higher commission. So what was bank's core business? Amazon can make that as their razor because they make money somewhere else. And that makes it very hard for banks to compete. On the other dimension, if you're selling the same product to multiple customers, the top left-hand box, that's when you have the network effects, which is more sellers means more buyers means more sellers. If you think about Facebook or WhatsApp, if you are the only person on Facebook, what's the value of Facebook? Not much. But as more and more people get onto Facebook, the value of Facebook increases without changing the product. So it's not about product. Network effects is about connecting customers, and complements is about connecting products. So I think the competitive advantage doesn't come only from product. Yes, you have to have good product, but how do you connect the products and how do you connect the customers? That becomes far more important in the digital economy. And another example of that is John Deere, which is John Deere used to be an equipment manufacturer of tractors, tillers, and planters, but they now moved on to becoming a farm management company. And that's, again, connecting not just the equipment, but connecting it to the weather data, to the seed optimization software, automated irrigation, all those services. And that expanded the scope of what business you are in. So I think the companies are thinking about not just the product, but almost like creating a platform where they connect multiple products and multiple customers.
The case study of GE was also mentioned in the book as you emphasized the importance of platforms and ecosystems. Can you walk us through how platforms and ecosystem impacted GE in their digital transformation?
So GE is an interesting story because I think that Jeff Immelt had a good vision. The implementation was perhaps not quite right, and that's why GE did not quite succeed. But even now, everybody says that GE's vision was right, which is initially the GE's idea of creating this platform was to create something for GE itself. In other words, I can improve my productivity of my assets by putting chips and IoT into the machines, like let's say the wind turbine. And then they moved to GE, not only for GE, but GE for our customers. So if I'm selling wind turbine to a client, earlier the salespeople will go and basically sell the wind turbine to the customer. But now they're saying, we are not selling just the wind turbine, we are helping customer achieve certain outcome. So the shift is to outcome-based solution rather than selling the device itself. And then they sort of integrated that to help customers improve better production of electricity using their wind turbines. They could monitor the wind turbines better. They can monitor the productivity of the wind turbines and based on the flow of the wind at any point in time. And then they went for GE for the world, which is you don't have to be a GE customer to be a part of the platform. That was the vision. Of course, there's lots of challenges, and we can discuss this later as to why GE had difficulty executing on that vision. But that vision was absolutely right, which is let's think about more than just the product. Let's think about creating a mechanism or a platform where we connect different products and we connect different customers. And that creates a unique competitive advantage.
Thank you for your explanation. With that in mind, in the book, HP was brought up as a company that successfully reimagined and changed their process, changed their business model. Can you explain why and how HP was successful?
Yeah, so I think it's this concept of product as a service is not only limited to HP. Lots of companies have done that. Basic idea being, instead of selling a product one time and people buying it one time and forgetting about it, can you have a more of a continuous relationship as a subscription service? We know that in the case of software, for example, that Microsoft used to sell your Office in the box, but now you actually subscribe to Microsoft Office 365 on an annual basis. And that creates a recurring revenue. So software as a service is very well known, but now companies are thinking, why should we limit it to software? We can even do it for the product as a service. So for example, Michelin tires, rather than simply selling tires to the clients, they simply give the tires to the clients and say, you pay for every kilometer you drive. So it's pay as you go. Rolls-Royce does the same thing for their jet engines, that you pay for every hour the jet engine is in flight.
Yeah.
And I think HP tried to do the same thing, which is they have a service, Instant Ink, where you don't have to buy the ink cartridges. You can pay for the number of pages you print. So I think that's a very unique model, and that there's a lot of advantage of that, which you keep better relationship with the customer. It expands the overall market size, and many companies have found it very, very useful.
Thank you for clear explanation. Sunil-san, can you further explain what factors contribute to help make a new business model, and what else should we take into considerations?
So I think if you want to create a new business model, you have to really understand, start with the customer to sort of say, what is changing in the customer behavior? How can we solve the customer's problem? How can we help the customer improve what they want to do? So you never start with your own business, you start with the customer. For example, in the case of HP, customers don't care about ink, they care about printing something or producing something, or the cloud software or a hybrid cloud that they want for a particular reason. So you start with the customer's problem, what problem you're trying to solve. And then that suddenly changes from the product to a solution mindset. And the moment you go to a solution mindset, then all kinds of possibilities emerge. And then, of course, you have to change your internal organization. Perhaps you got to change your sales process. Perhaps you need to change your compensation process. All those components follow. But it always starts with saying, how do we solve a client's problem? And it's not about giving them the input, my device, my product, but helping that, how does that device solve the customer's problem? I think that's the main factor that drives the change in the business model.
Thank you for your insight, Sunil-san. And we are developing into part 2 of your framework, Reevaluate your value chain. I'm particularly intrigued by your perspective on open innovation. You have highlighted the essence of open innovation as a collaborative endeavor with external technology and companies to address perhaps unrecognized customer challenges. It's compelling how you emphasize that open innovation is not merely technology-centric, but predominantly customer-driven. Would you care to explain a bit more on these ideas?
Yeah, so I think when we think of innovation, any company, when they think of innovation, they think of hiring the brightest people who will come up with great ideas and find new solutions to new problems. But regardless of how many bright people you have in the company, there are a lot of other bright people outside in the world.
Yeah.
And the basic idea of open innovation, how do we leverage the insight and expertise of lots of other people who might come and attack a particular problem in a very different way? Let me give you an example. NASA clearly has lots of very bright scientists, literally rocket scientists. And NASA was facing the problem for their International Space Station as to how to position the International Space Station to get the maximum power from the sunlight. And of course, there's some technical problem that if they don't position it well, some of their solar panels could actually break. So they had to avoid the shadow, but at the same time, capture as much power from the solar panels as possible. And NASA scientists have been struggling for a long time. Now, you would imagine NASA has some of the brightest minds. So obviously, if they can't solve it, this problem can't be solved. But then they decided to launch a competition and invite anybody and everybody, not just the rocket scientists, and say, here is the problem. We encourage you to solve it. And within a few months, and the only prize for solving that problem was $30,000, which is not a whole lot of money. Within a few months, they got more than 400 people submitted some solutions, and there were more than 2,000 solutions were submitted within 2 months for a price of only $30,000. And now you ask, were their solutions any good? Well, it turned out their solutions were even better than what NASA had produced after many years of research. And they were completely surprised. This was a joint project done with Harvard. And they were completely surprised as to how can these people come up with such innovative ideas in such a short period when we have some of the best scientists at NASA. Same thing happened in many other cases. And the reason why it happens is your company experts or scientists think in a certain way. We all think in a certain way because we were trained in a certain way. When you open it up to the world, people attack the same problem in 200 different ways. And those diverse approaches sometimes are very useful finding a solution than only a simple way of thinking. The second reason why open innovation works is most of the time, the people we have in the organization, on average, they're very good, but they rarely go to the extreme ends. They're generally not going to the absolutely wild possibilities. The outside people who come from a very different angle, they typically go to the extreme end of the solution, and therefore one unique solution can possibly work because they come from a completely different point of view. And the third thing I would say is there's a lot of research which shows that the users of the product actually know better about how to improve the product than the company that is making them because they haven't really used it. So if I'm using a particular product or technology, I know what problems it might have and how to improve. So if they give suggestions, they tend to be very, very powerful.
Thank you. I understand employees may be unable to generate extreme values from within the company. So company need to collaborate with outsiders to generate more real value that matters to customers. Moving on, you also mentioned operational excellence and omnichannel strategy as critical components to help reevaluate your value chain. Could you evaluate on these factors based on the idea of the omnichannel strategy?
Sure. So omnichannel strategy simply means that customers can buy from multiple channels, and depending on their interest and need, and every channel has a particular function. And I think this has become a very common strategy by now. So if you're a Walmart, you not only have your physical store, but you also have the online. And lots of customers prefer to shop in person. A lot of customers prefer to shop online. And many customers, depending on where they are, they may actually shop in both situations. So that's the basic fundamental idea of omnichannel. They are complements and not substitutes. And the complementarity can come in different forms. It could be complementarity across products. So if you think about, if I'm an insurance company, and typically insurance companies have lots of brokers, and now they were worried that, look, in the digital age, why do we need brokers? Because consumers can directly go to our website and search for the right insurance product. So are the brokers redundant? That channel is irrelevant. And the answer is no, because as an insurance company, they can sell the simple products to the customers on the website, because insurance products and financial products can be quite complex. So as a new customer, I might find the website easy enough to identify simple products. But as my needs become much more complex, I need to actually talk to somebody who can explain to me different options, whether it's investment, whether it's insurance. So the broker channel may become useful for more complex products, whereas the online channel may be more useful for simple products. So that can become a complementary for products. Same thing for customers. Some customers, in fact, some banks have found that their digital channel or mobile channel is much more powerful for young tech-savvy consumers, whereas their physical branches are much more useful for the other type of customer. So the customer behavior is different. And same thing happens across different journey. At different stages of your customer journey, you might be using one particular channel versus another. So I think that's the idea of omni-channel, that different channels do different jobs for different customers at different points in time. And you need to understand that.
Thank you. I understand we should take complementary across product, customers, and the customer life cycle into consideration when we make omnichannel strategy.
Yeah, I think this is an example of a Carrefour, which is a retailer in France. And again, they also realize that they have to do e-grocery, even though it's a low margin business, because consumers prefer that. So again, but if you don't make money on e-grocery, why does it make sense? Because they also found that the omni-channel customers are far more profitable than people who only shop in the store or only shop online. So I think there are benefits that you need to capture and not look at each channel as independent.
I would like to move on to part 3 of the framework, reconnect with your customers. In this part, Sunil-san, you mentioned the crucial idea of acquiring the right customers, the 200-20 rule, which states 20% of your customers provide almost 200% of the profit, was introduced. I was truly impressed with your observation and insight. Sunil-san, could you please elaborate how we should acquire right customers?
Okay. If you go to the next slide, I think this is where, if you think about the customers, I think we need to think of two sides of customers. The value that customers get from our product or service, that is in the horizontal axis, that how we create value for the customer. On the vertical axis is how we get value from them. This is basically the profit that comes to us. So horizontal axis is how we provide value to them, and the vertical axis is how we make money from them, right? So it's almost like one side is marketing, the other side is finance. So customers can fall in any of these 4 boxes. The ideal scenario is in the top right-hand box, which I call star customers, where basically customers like your product and service, they get a lot of value, and we find them highly profitable. That's a win-win situation. They like us, we like them. But think about the free riders. Here, customers get a lot of value from us because our product is fantastic, price is low, we give lots of discounts, they're very happy. But we don't make much money on them. That's not a good situation. They're basically free riders. There are lots of customers, but we don't make money. On the other hand, if we look at the vulnerable customers on the top left-hand box, we make a lot of money from these customers, but they don't get much value from us. And why they're still with us? It could be simply because they don't have much choices. For example, if I'm a cable company and I'm the only cable company in the town, they may not be able to switch, but they don't particularly like the service. And the moment another alternative comes, they will switch. Now, why is this 4-box distinction important? Because if you're a company and you don't know which box, how many customers fall in different boxes, you might look at your market share and you may feel great, I have a good market share. But if majority of your customers are free riders, that's a bad customer mix.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's what you need to understand. And insurance companies found that a lot of their customers are the wrong kind of customers. So you may have lots of customers, but the customer mix is not the right one.
Thank you. I understand that focusing on right customer is very important. So next, I would like to explain our framework of digital strategy. We believe that digital technology has a positive impact on business. Specifically, we believe that it can enhance customer experience through ubiquitousness, personalization, and one-stop customer services. In terms of the value chain, we aim to achieve deep insight through automation and data-driven analytics, which can reduce costs and empower employees. Ultimately, our goal is to improve the customer's willingness to pay by solving customers' real problems. We view this as pivotal in the successful realization of our digital transformation journey. For existing companies to achieve success in digital transformation, the cornerstone of successful digital transformation for companies lies in leveraging their existing strengths, such as trusted by customers. I believe it is essential to rediscover and reinvent the value we provide to our customers. And to achieve this, leveraging digital technology is crucial. This involves acquiring new capabilities that we did not have before and strengthening our existing capability with digital technologies. Our framework, which we believe will help a successful digital transformation, consists of three key components. The first being the customer-based service examination, and the second, the value chain examination, and finally, planning the business model. We first consider how we can enhance and improve the customer experience, which translated into providing new customer value. The second step is to examine the value chain to identify how to our value chain make this a reality. Finally, the third step is planning the business model in which we make this a reality. By understanding how we can enhance and improve the customer experience and then examining how we can add to our value chain, business decisions can be made to help build revenue models, cost structures, ultimately affecting how we generate revenue and increase profits. To identify our customer true problems, the first key point is understanding the fundamental challenges of customers. To achieve this, we must align the company's purpose, mission, and values with the actual current customer experience to create new customer challenges and value based on that foundation. The fundamental concept for creating customer value is to solve and address the challenges that the customers genuinely want to address using digital means. To solve the fundamental challenges of customers, we believe it's crucial to focus on how customers use a product or service after they make a purchase. For example, insurance is typically used in situations like car accident. The customer challenge is to receive a smooth and efficient solution when an accident occurs. Therefore, the focus would be on developing digital services that addresses this particular challenge. In this case, a smooth and comprehensive solution. Broadening our view on the customer challenge, when driving a car, the primary challenge is to avoid car accident. Therefore, it could be argued that providing services to ensure that accidents don't happen would address a more significant customer challenge. To achieve this, the insurance company could consider digital services that involve installing sensors on the vehicle to monitor the driver's behavior, issuing alarms to the driver, or providing information about areas where accidents frequently occur. These digital services aim to enhance safety and minimize the risk of accident, solving a deeper challenge for the customer. In the digital age, when using digital technology to address customer challenges, I believe there is another critical point to consider. While one point is solving customer challenges, the other point is to capture the customer's feedback and reactions on the service provided, and then use that feedback to further enhance the services. We should provide services, collect data on customer reactions, analyze that data, and use it to enhance our services in a continuous cycle to improve. Lastly, considering customer experience or value chain, digital by default approach is necessary. This means that when we think about leveraging digital technology, it's common to focus on digitizing the superficial process or tasks in front of us to solve the immediate challenges. However, I believe this approach is not real digital transformation aimed at addressing the challenges. So, in the case of the insurance company, instead of merely digitizing and streamlining the existing application process to provide convenience to customers, we should focus on the real challenge within this process, which is to propose the most suitable insurance product to the customer and secure their contract. To do this, we need to create new processes using digital technologies like smartphones and leverages big data and AI, regardless of existing processes. I think this kind of thinking is essential. To summarize, we believe that with digital technology and using the convert, connect, algorithm, and cognize digital technologies, a company is able to transform customer experiences and value chains. This approach focuses on not merely changing traditional process, but rather using digital technology to design new, genuine processes that address the true challenges and issues. We emphasize the importance of the digital by default mindset in this context. Thank you for allowing us to share our frameworks. I would like to return our attention back to your framework for digital leadership. In part 4 of the framework, rebuild your organization, your framework regarding tradition was very unique. There were some insightful quotes regarding managing the transition period, as I completely agree that the longer the transition speed, the greater the cumulative loss or decline in profits over time. Furthermore, your idea of pilot testing was excellent, as well as the three factors that affect the speed of transition. Sunil-san, you then mentioned the three steps of transition. Although I agree with the first stage of the transition, I would like to ask for clarification the second and third stages of transition. Sunil-san, why do you believe that companies should open their tech platforms to general public? Is the aim of doing this to create an ecosystem?
So I think, again, you, in many cases, when you build a technology, you don't only build for yourself, you build to do better and easier transaction with your customers.
Yeah.
When Amazon built the technology platform for own internal use, they also built it for third-party sellers so they can plug in the third-party sellers into the system, which became the AWS. When Goldman Sachs created their marquee platform, that initial purpose was to break the silos within the organization. And then they say, well, if we can now communicate and transact better within the company, why don't we let customers transact better with us across departments? So that the platform, which is, if it's good for us, it must be good for the customers and clients as well.
Yeah.
It's almost like you become the customer number zero, and you refine the technology, and then you make it available to our clients also. And that's good for the clients, and that could also be a potential source of revenue. So that's basically the idea of the stage 2. And stage 3, sometimes you even open it up to third-party players who are not even your customers, because that creates the network effects. That basically, the more sellers, more buyers kind of argument that we saw in Amazon. That's the same argument that creates the network effects, and that creates the winner-take-all kind of situation.
Thank you for sharing with me your opinions. I now have a better understanding of your idea and thought process. Sunil-san, I would like to ask if you have any example of a company that was able to successfully rebuild their organization.
So I think a great example of a company that has done a phenomenal job is MasterCard. So when Ajay Banga became the CEO of MasterCard in 2010, MasterCard was pretty much a traditional card transaction company. Basically, they were a network of transactions, and they were the second largest player after Visa. And Ajay basically said that, look, we are focusing only on doing the traditional business, and banks are our traditional customers. But there is 85% of transactions in the world happen with cash and checks, not by cards. So we are focusing on Visa and American Express, but our real competition is cash and checks. That opens up the lens completely. And then once they recognize that, they've created a strategy of how do we grow the existing business, but also diversify into different businesses and also build. So they build a completely new technology platform. Now they are actually one of the major players in cybersecurity. If a bank as a customer, they even provide cybersecurity services to the bank. They provide innovation services to the bank, which was not initially what they were doing 10 years ago. And today, almost 35% of their revenue comes from services, not from just the card transactions. And that is more profitable and much more defensible, higher sustainability of that business. And within 10 years, MasterCard's market cap went up from 35 billion to 350 billion. So that's an amazing case study of a major change in the organization. And it's the vision of the leader, but also technology played a big component, because obviously financial services is highly impacted by technology.
In this part, the speedboat analogy was also brought up. This analogy helped me clearly visualize how a company should approach transformation in areas where there are synergies with existing business. With this analogy, Sunil-san, could you please explain what kind of relationship should a new organization establish with existing business? Please.
Sure. So I think when companies are going into new areas, doing a completely new innovation, there's always a question, should we keep that innovation lab inside the core organization or should we keep it outside? And many companies in the past have created a separate organization simply because they thought if we put it in the core business, traditional business, the bureaucracy of the traditional business will never let these new innovations grow. So let's keep it separate, let them give them oxygen, let them grow. And at some level, that's a good idea. But what happens is these independent companies like speedboats. So, I mean, think about you as a large company is like a large ship. And now you launched a speedboat, the new innovation lab. And typically what companies have found that the speedboat takes off, but it doesn't change the direction of the ship. And the reason is because a separate innovation lab is so disconnected with the core of the business that when they come up with an innovation and bring it to the core business executives say, well, that doesn't work for me. It has nothing to do with me because there's no connecting tissue. So the way most companies now find that the best way to do is start a completely new business outside your organization for a little while, but then tie that speedboat to your boat, to your ship. And at the right time, pull the speedboat into the ship because the goal is not to launch speedboats. The goal is to change the direction of the ship. And you let the speedboat take on some speed, but because it's connected to the ship, over time, it'll change the direction of the ship. So at the right point in time, you have to bring the innovation into the core of your business. If you wait too long, then there will be no connection between the speedboat and the ship.
Thank you for clear explanation. I was able to understand how companies should collaborate with startups and group companies in order to make synergies. Synergies is very important. Lastly, you covered talent management in the digital stage. What kind of talents do you think is needed for digital transformation?
I mean, all of us have to reskill ourselves nowadays.
Reskill,
because the way we used to work is very different. So, for example, before COVID, we all, as professors, we all used to teach in the classroom, physical classroom with the blackboard and everything. But once the COVID came, we couldn't do the same thing. So we had to learn new skills as how to teach on Zoom, for example. None of us knew that skill, but we had to learn that. So that's an example. But what happens as you reskill people, the people who have been working with the old style are afraid because as they move to the new skill, they will not do as well as they were doing before. So initially, I wouldn't teach very well in Zoom as I was teaching in the physical classroom because my style is then not the same in a physical classroom as it's in the online. But over time, you learn. So companies have to both provide the resources to allow people to learn, but also give them time to fail and not perform as well as they were performing before because you're learning a new language, you're learning a new skill, and it'll take time for people. If people don't get that resources and don't get that time to learn, they will find 200 reasons to why this is a bad idea, and that new innovation will never seep through and new technology will never get hold inside the company.
Thank you, Sunil-san, for your thorough explanation of your book, Driving Digital Leadership. Before we go on to the next session, I'd like to share with you our frameworks. We believe that digital technologies reduce costs associated with collecting customer information, internal processing, and experimentation. As a result, a flat and customer-centric management approach is best suited for digital business. This demands a different style of management than traditional businesses. We believe that to lead successful digital transformation, leaders need to effectively coordinate traditional business organizations and agile organization. We call this hybrid management. While hybrid management places particular emphasis on managing based on data, it is acknowledged that there are many challenges, such as setting appropriate metrics when managing traditional business organizations and agile organizations with different natures using data. Leaders in such roles require a diverse range of knowledge, but I believe that one of the most critical attributes is their interpersonal skills, qualities as shown on this slide. And to drive digital transformation, having hypothesis is crucial, and developing a mindset to validate these hypotheses is essential. I refer to this as HYPER, which stands for hypothesis, plan, experiment, and review. Furthermore, this is not limited to a single individual. It is necessary to share individual knowledge within the organization and transform it into shared knowledge. This is why I believe that hyper plus share diagram for sharing is required.